But can you explain a little bit about tradersaudio.com?
I think the easiest way to put it is tradersaudio.com is really just it's all the information that your chart can't tell you. There's a lot of information that your chart communicates to you, whether in terms of price activity, but there's a whole human element and a whole side of trading, that audio side component that a lot of traders miss out on. And really, if you're just kind of only bound or only looking at the charts, and you're really not taking advantage of the capacity and the potential that your brain has to interpret more information and to get a better kind of understanding of market conditions.
But like when you're down at the pit and you're listening to those guys, who are those guys? I mean, I know you call them locals, institutional players, but who are they?
Yeah, well, the locals are really just a middleman. And really what they're there to do is kind of help bridge the gap between the small guy and the big guy. And the small guy is is another player in the kind of spectrum, if you will, and that's like the retail trader. And then you have the institutional trader. So you've got the institutional, the retail, that's all business that comes from off the floor. And then you've got your locals that help kind of connect the two, the retail and the institutional. Very similar to like how the institutional player is similar to like a car dealership, and the retail is similar to like you and me. When we go to buy a car, we just buy one car. We don't go to buy 100. So the factory is similar. I'm sorry, I might have said the dealership. The factory is similar to the institutional player, and the factory is, producing all these cars. Then you got the retail guy who's just doing, one car at a time. And there's the middleman, which is the dealership, which helps kind of bridge that gap. He helps join the factory and the individual car buyer.
So in essence, like let's say the locals are the market makers. Do they push the price lower, push the price higher,
That's
whatever?
exactly what they try and do. When they're long, they try and push the price higher. When they're short, they try and push it lower. They're trying to push lower in order to attract supply, at lower levels where they can buy and liquidate at lower levels. And when they're long, they're trying to attract demand at higher levels so they can liquidate long positions, at favorable prices.
Are there any like traders that are specifically coming in during the morning and they only focus on, like, let's say the bullish? They're always bullish. Every single day they come in, they're bullish.
Yeah.
Or the other traders that come in, they're only bearish.
Yeah, those guys get really kind of beat up. Those guys have big days up and big days down. There's one of the guys that I kind of point out in the pit to focus a lot on is this guy I call number one, and he's notorious bear. He loves to short the market. And the joke about him is the longest he's ever been is short 10. And I think that he's notorious short-sided activity, and on a grind higher like the trade environment that we're in right now, he gets really beat up. He really does. So
I was actually going to ask, that was my next question about the number one, because I hear the number one a lot. When people asking in the chat room, who is what's the position, is he in?
Yeah.
I mean, should we, as traders that listen to your radio, should they focus on what number one does?
If that is something that has, if that's information that kind of plays in their trading strategy, sure. If it's something that they can, it depends. There's times where he's having his way with the market and where it's information that you should know about, and then there's times where the market's just kind of running him over, and you could say that means that it's obsolete, or you could say that also means that that's information you should know as well. So again, it's similar to how the service appeals to different traders for different reasons. That's another example where it really depends on the trader and what they're looking for and the information that they got out of it and how they use it. Everybody uses it a little bit differently.
Okay, when you talk a lot, I hear you speak of the bid and the offer.
Yeah.
Bid and the offer.
Yeah.
Bid and the offer.
Yeah.
And I know this is important, but a lot of traders misinterpret that.
Yeah. Well, bids and offers are different than buyers and sellers. Everybody thinks, when you're hearing something, this guy's on the bid, or this guy's bidding, or this guy's on the bid, that means that he's a buyer. And that's not true. I mean, basically a bid is like you walking into the store downstairs here and putting a can of pop on the counter, and the guy's going to say, downstairs here, he's probably going to say $3. But, anywhere else you'd say $1. And if you pulled out 2 quarters and you were like, hey, I'm only willing to pay 50 cents, and that's a bid. There's no trade there. There's no exchange. The word buyer implies that there's been some sort of exchange, The bid is just somebody trying to buy, if you will, at a certain price. Buyer communicates that you've had somebody that's paid the offer, the price. Just the same, offer is just a price that somebody's trying to sell at. It doesn't mean that they're a seller. You don't have that transaction until you have the meeting of the minds, if you will, or meeting of that price activity.
I understand, like, sometimes, like, people read, the way you speak of, people read you differently. Just like, for example, 2 weeks ago, you were saying, I caught you saying like 9:45 a.m. and I caught you saying, there's no buyers, and there was so much energy in your words, like there's no buyers. So I'm thinking, there's no buyers, so what do we got to do? The market's got to go down, right? And I was actually positioned long. All my indicators were saying go long. So I was actually a long position. When I heard you say that, I automatically got out of the position. And within like seconds, boom, the market tanked like 10 handles.
Nice. Well, that'll happen sometimes. You also, I always jokingly say those are kind of good timing situations that worked out for you. You know that I always say my job's easy. I talk, you click. So, that's credit to you more than credit to me, believe it or not. So,
Okay.
I can't sit back and take credit for that one, but... And I always say, because I don't want blame for the bad ones, I don't want credit for the good ones. That's your thing. I'm talking, you're clicking,
Exactly. But, that's the thing is, the hardest thing is people have to understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then they got to interpret that, whether they click the right button.
Yeah.
Buy or sell or get out of the position.
Well, the squawk isn't a buy-sell thing so much. That's you that interprets it. What all the squawk really is just similar to your chart. It's another piece of information. It's a tool, similar to your razor, that you use in the morning to shave yourself. If it's a tool, if it's handled poorly, thing's deadly, man. That chart, if it's handled poorly, it's deadly.
I think just like I use you, for example, if you say, obviously you don't say buy or sell, you can't do that, you don't want to get into that mess, but I use you as like one of my other indicators. I have all my other indicators and they fall in line, everything is good.
Yeah, that's exactly
then I listen
the way
to you,
it
it's a
should be.
confirmation.
That's exactly the way it should be. It's just another tool in the box. That's all it really is. It's like a puzzle. If I were to throw a 500-piece puzzle on the table right now and say, hey, what is this? It's going to be impossible for you to look at all these pieces and tell me, oh, it's a kitten, that's chasing a ball, and off to the left here there's a basket full of kittens, and this cat's chasing a ball of yarn or something. You won't be able to tell me that, but basically but once you start throwing pieces of the puzzle at somebody and you start, kind of putting the bigger picture together, that's what it's talking about. So what you're talking about is combining a few pieces of the puzzle.
Try S.
Try S. It's just this phrase I used to use, or still use, for when the locals are stuck, they're short, and they're stubborn. Try S. 3 S's. Stuck, short, and stubborn. It's when they've had a lot of paper buy-side activity off the open. They've been selling, and they just can't push the market lower. They can't find any sellers to buy from, so they're stuck, they're short, and they're being stubborn about it. That's it. They can be long. I don't know what the 3L would be, but it'd be it happens on the long side too, is all I'm saying.
But I hear, like every single day, I mean, they come in the morning and it's just like they're short, the market goes up and they're stubborn and they're ticked off and they're getting out of the position. Eventually, maybe during the day it works out for them, but
recently,
like a lot of times they're wrong.
Recently, what you've been hearing is just that, the local game, similar to the car dealership. Remember, we already said he's sort of like a car dealership. So the locals game isn't to sit there and this is not going to be the best example because you just talked about they're short and it's going against them. But the locals game isn't to necessarily be always short or always long. Just like the car dealership's game isn't always buy used cars or always sell new cars. He wants to flip cars. He wants to buy used cars, sell new cars. He wants to buy.
He just wants to scalp.
He wants to scalp.
He doesn't care about the trend.
Problem is that, for example, and this is the way I like to put it, is what if the local or the car dealer, what if at 9 o'clock some guy drives a Subaru up, says, hey, I'm thinking about buying this used Honda, or this new Honda. How much will you give me for my Subaru? The guy offers him a price on the Subaru, and he takes the check and he leaves. Doesn't buy the Honda. An hour later, another Subaru drives up. Same thing happens. Guy takes the check and leaves. Another hour later, same thing. Another Subaru drives up. Doesn't buy a Honda, just takes the check and leaves. So at this point, your dealership's getting long Subarus, if you will. It's not able to scalp. So he's buying Subarus, but he's not selling any Hondas. So he's getting overly weighted long. We don't have a long stuck and stubborn about it, but that's basically what's happening. He's long, he's stuck, he's stubborn. He just keeps accumulating these cars. But what's happening is each car he buys, he's going to buy it at a cheaper price because he's not willing to pay more or the same for what he was already just buying an hour ago. So he's going to say, all right, this one's worth $9,000 at 10 o'clock. That one's worth $8,000 at 11 o'clock. It's only worth $7,000 to me. At 1 o'clock, at 2 in the afternoon, he might be like, fuck it, those cars are only worth $3,000 to me right now. I've got 8 of them. What do I want 10? You know? So what's happening is he's buying more and more and more, but price is going down, 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 down. So he's having a hard time bidding prices back up to find a buyer to sell to. He's just stuck. You know, he's like, fuck, I keep buying. Price keeps going lower.
But no matter what, they got it like by the end of the day.
They flatten up. They don't have to, but they do.
Do some of them hold up?
Yeah, some do, but for the most part, they don't. Just like the car dealership, the salesman doesn't drive those cars home at night. He leaves them at the lot. He comes back the next morning. You know what I mean? Same thing, same exact thing. He doesn't pull a truck up and drive him up onto the rack and pull him out in front of his house and then put him on the lots out there. You know, he says, look, this is my place of business. When you guys want to come here and buy and sell, this place of business will be here. That's what the local does. Same thing.
But
Same thing as a car dealer.
When you mention, like, for the most part, the locals are there in the pit to scalp.
For sure.
But do they ever, like, go in the morning and do they, like, follow
Position
technicals,
trade?
fundamentals? Do they pivots?
Yeah. Yes, no. You know, again, each one's different, so it's tough for me to make a broad, based statement across the board about all of them. But some look at pivots, some don't. Some look at support and resistance, some don't. Some will get out of the pit and look at charts, some don't. But for the most part, these guys are more like you and me than you'd believe. The one thing that they have that's different is they have a bit of an advantage in that they can be first in, first out, cheapest in, cheapest out. And then there's this side of things that isn't really, it's kind of tough to talk, it's tough to explain, but there's these loopholes and there's this stuff that happens because there's the human element associated with trading that doesn't happen on the platform or on the screen. And that being, guys can kind of, give a heads up or a look or, some sort of signal, and certain it's kind of tough to explain, but there's certain safeguards for the local, if you will, that screen trader doesn't have.
Okay.
Certain edge.
Beyond the locals, I guess, I got a few friends that have traded for years. They lost money, and they hate the market. They hate Wall Street. They never want to go back to it. They think it's a rigged game. Now I'm telling them it's not.
Might be.
What do you say to people like that?
I say that they probably lost money. I say if they would made money, they wouldn't be saying it, is my guess. I think that it's, the fact of the matter is like 90-some-odd% of people who try and do this lose money. I say that they probably, they it's a business, man. It's just like anything else. I mean, it's the same as going out and trying to open up a Walgreens. It's the same as going out and trying to open up a Dunkin' Donuts or trying to do, Ben's Donuts. You know, you're going to get some advantages for buying into the franchise, and you're going to get some, school of hard knocks, and it'll be a little cheaper if you don't buy into the franchise. But in trading, what's really important, in my opinion, is to find somebody who really knows what they're doing, who's making money, and to learn from them. It's tough to do.
You said Ben Donuts.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Benergy. I mean, you would kill Red Bull. Okay.
The Benergy traders drink.
Now you got to explain that. I mean, every single day you come in the morning.
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, man.
It takes me a few cups of coffee just to wake up, just to open my eyes. Okay.
Yeah.
You got that enthusiasm.
Yeah. I don't know where it comes from.
9:30 a.m. New York time. You're in Chicago.
I don't know. It's just,
Can I go out and buy that someplace?
I jokingly say it comes from the heart, man, but I don't know. I ride my bike to work every day. I go for a swim every morning, and it may be just the timing's right that all those, endorphins or whatever kick in, and I turn the switch on. But I wake up, I don't look forward to work just like every other guy. There's days where I'm like, damn, I got to go to work. I'm pulling myself out of bed and, kind of cleaning out the cobwebs from in between my ears and shit, and so I think it's, you got to kind of, it's just like, it's a job just like everything else, but I get a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of fun from meeting clients, meeting up with guys, putting a face to a name and talking about it, and doing it. I mean, that's really all it comes down to. And for the most part, I always tell guys that everybody's always like, thanks for doing this, thanks for coming down, and I get more out of it than you guys do, believe it or not. It's kind of a selfish thing. I get a lot out of this. I really enjoy what I do, and I learn something new every day for the most part. So I like to keep doing it.
I wouldn't say it's selfish because you actually.
No, sure. Yeah, no. I mean, in some ways, though, I feel it's a little bit selfish. Everybody, like I said, I get a lot out of it. So.
What is your most memorable moment?
For sure 9/11, they got TV screens on the trading floor, and after that first plane hit, watching the other one go in, it was just, we were all standing there, nobody knew what the hell was going on. I'd have to say that was one of them. Next one was when Greenspan came out and said the market was exhibiting rational exuberance. Market sold off like, I don't know. And then the other one's flash crash day, March 6th or whatever it was, that was another big day.
Flash crash.
Yeah.
You actually have a video on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it actually...
Yeah, that was a big day.
I hear that energy.
Yeah, it was a crazy day. Crazy. A lot of fun.
I don't know. I guess I got like one or two questions.
Go ahead, man. You can tell.
Do you ever see the pit disappear?
Yeah, it's slowly disappearing. I've been down here 20 years, man. 20 fucking years. And here's the deal with it. Will it be gone one day? Yes. When? Got no idea. I can't tell you when. But what I can tell you is this. My first day down there as a runner, I'm holding up an order to this guy in the pit. And he looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing down here, kid? Don't you know this place is about to close?" It's 20 years ago. That guy hasn't been down there for 17 of those 20 years. No, he hasn't been down there for 15 of them. He walked himself out the door talking about how much it was going to close. So in his own mind, it was already closed. Here I am meeting clients, out in New York, at the trade show. Yeah, hopefully, meeting my new broadcaster in the crude. So it really just, I don't think if I had listened to him, I would have never experienced any of this. It's simply put, I can't say that this is made or broke or, this has been good for me or bad for me or whatever necessarily, but man, if I had listened to him, I would have never done any of this. you know. But it's a tough road, man. It really is. And ultimately, I want to trade. You know, I'm not doing this. I didn't wake up and be like, I want to be a squawker. You know, I went down on the trading floor and I was like, I want to learn how to sustain a very, modest lifestyle.
Do you trade now?
Yeah, but, I don't. I'm so focused on the business right now that I don't trade to make a living. You know, my bread and butter comes from, the business. I've been trading for kind of on and off for 15 years in some ways.
If you do trade, what do you trade?
Crude, gold, currencies. Like to trade the euro currency, yen. It's been a good trade recently.
It's been a good trade, yeah, recently.
Terra. We used to trade the mini S&P, but because my relationship right now at the exchange and with my clearing firm, I don't do that, and I don't trade mini anymore. But mostly crude, mostly gold.
But how do you trade when you're in the pit?
I'm on the outside of the pit at a desk, first of all, right outside, just, like from here to there, basically.
So you got a bunch of computers that you can actually...
Yeah, I got screens I watch, I got my charts running all the time. And I've got my platform I can enter a trade in just like anybody else.
Did you ever think about like a video feed?
The exchange doesn't allow it. I have thought about it for years. The exchange doesn't allow it, man. There's a lot of stuff that happens down there that they don't want everybody to,
Stuff
see
like
and
what?
shit. Well, it's kind of tough to explain, but basically, like I said, there's some privy information down there that there's stuff that happens that's all within sort of the rules and the guidelines, but...
So there are some things that are hidden away from the regular trader.
Sure. It's a club. It's good old boys. It's like a locker room. There's shit that happens in there that...
Do they ever come in the morning and say, you know what, screw this market, we're going to tear it down?
No, not really, because they can't... They do that, yes, and sometimes it does work, but for the most part, that's not really... They don't meet up like that. It can have a snowball effect, if you will, like it can start and a couple guys can get on board, if you will, but it's not like they sit down in the break room in the morning and they're like, okay guys, we're going to sell it off today, or we're going to rally it today. They're definitely that sort of like action sort of creates itself a little bit, but it doesn't really, it's not a planned event by any far stretch of the imagination. So
last question.
Go ahead.
Other services beyond.
What's up? Good morning, guys. What's happening? What's up,
How are you?
Good to meet you.
Good, Jeffrey. Good to meet you finally. Good.
Hey, Martha.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
Hey, how you doing, baby? Good. Hold on 1 second. What's up? Last one. What's up?
What are other services that you provide?
Yeah. What are they all?
What other services that you provide?
Well, we do a treasury service right now, which is the 30-year, 10-year, 5-year coverage. We have a crude squawk box, which we're doing right now, live out of the NYMEX floor. This is the broadcaster, Marty, Jeff right there. They handle that broadcast. We do a Forex broadcast, grains, S&Ps. We're in the process of adding a couple right now. We're looking at some metals and adding a couple different twists to some of what we already provide, like a morning traders sort of round table we've been talking about doing, which we think might show, have a little bit some people would show some interest in. So, but those are the products that we're offering right now. The S&Ps has a couple different variations of it. It's either that machine gun or kind of a summarized, sort of boiled down version. We offer support and resistance numbers right now for all those major markets, newsletters for all those major markets. Marty does a really cool thing, like a Sunday night. These guys together do a Sunday night, like trader show, weekly outlook kind of thing, sort of wrap up the week and the past week and focus on the week to come. So there's a lot of interesting things listed on the site right now, and we're just in the process of adding more. Marty's a incredible ideas guy, so I expect it, I'm not sure exactly how or what the different listings will be, but I expect things to be expanding in the near future.
And everybody's from Chicago, right?
No, these guys are, yeah, they're New Yorkers, yeah.
Well, what do you broadcast from? You broadcast from here, or?
No, the New York Mercantile Exchange, where they trade food and natural gas, gold.
And you traded, I assume?
Yeah, a little bit, varying, from time to time, but mostly now focusing on the broadcast side of the business, basically.
And what are you guys doing here in the trade show?
Selling our shit,
Selling our services and
pushing it, meeting people. I never met these guys, so I'm coming out here to...
Yeah, because I figured you would have a presentation or something. But I read
No, well,
through the syllabus.
Marty, you spoke yesterday, you
I
said,
spoke
right?
yesterday at one of the Fidelity sponsored events downstairs from 8 to 12. So, I was able to talk to a couple people. I spoke about a couple of things. So it was really supposed to be for my cousin, so on the behalf of his company, but also adding the stuff that I do for Traders Audio. So it was a pretty
We're
cool.
working it. We're working it. I mean, I've been doing these trade shows for as long as I've had the business, for 15 years now, just about. And the first one I ever did was just kind of a long story, but the way that I ended up getting involved in the business was the trader that I was working for on the trading floor at the time kind of gave me a free look. He was like, yeah, I've heard people are sort of interested in hearing your squawk, and he was like, I mean, it sort of sucks because I'm paying you, but you're starting to accumulate some private clients, and they're starting to take more of your time and energy than you're committed to me right now. So he was like, so for a while he was just slowly letting me get these clients, and he used to be hooked up with Future Source, which they're not even really around anymore, but yeah, they're decades ago. And long story short, they used to have a huge booth in the trade shows, and they let me sort of like set up, at the time it was just a speakerphone, which we dialed into the conference bridging system, and we were playing it over there by their booth and stuff. But one of the chicks came up to me who was running the booth, and she was like, she goes, we don't make a dime off these trade shows. She goes, the only reason we're here is because they're here, and they're here, and they're here.
Your name out.
Yeah, she was like, CQG, there they are. She was like, E-Signal, there they are. And those weren't really, CQG was a major competitor at the time, but she was like, we don't make any money off this. So I've never really had high expectations. After she said that to me, I've always kind of been like, you know what, fuck it, it's more for fun. I mean,
Again, you got to be there.
Yeah.
Because your competitor's right there. And then the next time they open up a magazine or they go to the Ninja Trader site and you see the advertisement, you can name it.
Yeah, no, it is. And so one year I know the guys at the show, and they're real friendly. They're approachable. You can ask them, hey, I want to speak. They'll ask you for your credentials. They'll look you up a little bit, and then for the most part, they want speakers. I mean, they need us, so they want to fill the rooms.
I noticed how many things they just keep adding more things on.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of people coming in last minute.
Yeah, if you offer, the chances are they'll let you speak. So I spoke in Vegas one time, but I didn't really get much feedback on it, much of a response. So I never really.
But the thing is, there was a lot of. I said, who's futures traders here? Please raise your hand. There was about 200 people in there. Maybe 50 of them rose their hand.
Yeah.
Futures traders.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
a lot of stock people.
Well, there are future shows.
Yeah.
So there are actual futures expos.
Right. This is the money show or whatever. So you
So
have
there
Charles
is actually
Schwab here and
futures
shit.
expos, just
Yes.
Yeah, I believe the one in
Yeah,
Las
but
Vegas is.
It is, but it's
because I've noticed
thin.
this is
It's
not
thin,
so much
man.
into futures.
It's a lot of stock stuff. Yeah, it is. 'Cause like
This
I
is
mentioned,
more, I'm seeing Charles Schwab and shit like that. So,
TD Ameritrade.
so can I see the cards?
TD
You got a bunch
Ameritrade-
of them still, or?
Oh God, yeah.
Get rid of all.
I got a
You
lot
got
of
rid
them
of a bunch
left.
of them.
I got rid of a lot.
I didn't
Oh,
get
I'll
good
get rid of the
at
rest of them.
Yeah.
I love doing this. This is my thing. This is how I started the business. It's fucking
See, this
good,
this
right?
is why I'm here.
Sweet,
Collect
I
these
do.
pens. That's
I know,
about it.
yeah.
That's my garbage I'm collecting out of it.
Yeah, see, I'm like,
Now, are you a futures trader? Or?
Yes.
Badgy thing.
oh, I like this.
What's his
I
face
like
has it,
this.
right? Jeffrey, you got the badge?
Oh, yeah.
Just for them. Because the thing is, I got one for you, Ben, but
What's that?
the badge, but it seems like you
I got, yeah, I'm good.
All right. Yeah, I just
So,
wasn't sure. If,
He registered for everybody. We all
now,
registered.
what's your
He
handle in the
registered.
room again?
The Ralphie's.
Ralphie's, that's right. You recognize that
Yeah,
handle,
yeah.
don't you? He's
Yeah.
real quiet, but he's in there every once
I
in a while.
I don't talk too much.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I've noticed a lot of those guys in there in the chat room, they're really technical. They really know what the hell they're talking about. So I want to
I
kind of
think
like,
they do.
well, some of them, just like, what's his name? Mark?
I'm
Yeah,
NPR.
Mark knows a little
Mark knows a lot.
bit. Yeah, that's NPR freak.
NPR.
Yeah, Mark knows. NPR.
Okay.
Um,
Because
yes.
remember the first day, I think the first day, which was November or October of last year, I was like, chatting, I was talking, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I better stay off, because I don't even know what I'm talking about,
We don't get a free drink. That was this last night, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So what do you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Ben.
Between yesterday
What are you going to
morning
do? Walk around a little
I'm
bit?
just gonna walk around here.
Okay. Call me before you leave.
Call
Okay.
you before
Yeah,
okay.
just so we can, say goodbye to each other for a minute. All right. All right.
Nice meeting you
Hey,
guys.
nice to meet you. Good to meet you too, man.
Pleasure. All right, see you.
Enjoy.
So there's another.